I could go out in the middle of the afternoon and the fog would be coming back into the city, and I could sit down at an outdoor table at a coffee shop or cafe and have a nice, you know, nice cup of latte. Whereas it's pretty impossible to do here in Japan, especially when around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it almost feels like a monsoon coming for about an hour or two. Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Expat Files. This is episode 3, and you can get it in early access over on Patreon. Our Patreon is patreon.com/the Arena Productions in audio format. And you can also watch it in early access for YouTube channel members over on our YouTube page, the Arena Productions. And you can watch that early, so 2 days in early access. So anyway, in episode 3 here of the Expat Files, I'm going to talk today about uh, gaming fatigue. So a lot of you that watch our content on the Arena Productions love video games and listen to our podcast, the Arena Multi-Platform Gaming News Podcast. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about, having gaming fatigue. I know we've all had it at times, and I'm going to talk about my story of having it. And also, I want to talk about content creation. Because as I'm the host and founder of the Arena Productions, and I love creating content. I'll give you a little bit of a background as to why I got into it and why I love it so much. But first, we're going to dive into some questions. And these questions that, of course, any of you that listen to the show could send me some questions, and I might possibly read those questions and answer them in the next episode. So these questions pertain to Japan, and they come from my co-hosts. So anyway, let's do this. So the first question comes from my co-host and contributor here on the Arena Productions, turn-based Carl. So Carl has been with me on the Arena Multi-Platform Gaming News Podcast, as well as some of our other shows here on the Arena Productions for about 2 years now, a little over 2 years. So his question to me is pertaining to Japan. Did you ever have any major culture clash moments while living in Japan? Well, Carl, thank you for the question. But I while living in Japan, I still live in Japan. I have lived in Japan now for 27 years, but I get where you're coming from. So major culture clash moments. Well, besides the situations that I had before walking across the street in Tokyo and some weird woman would, be walking by me and then just yell out, "Go back to America." Uh, I've had those types of situations before. Uh, but when it comes to a major culture clash moment, I think back to about 12 years ago. And I was working for a company. I'm not going to say the name of it, and I'm not going to say the names of the people in this story, but I had a situation where I became very sick with influenza, and I could not go in on a particular day. And so I called, a few hours before to let the staff know in this company that I was working for at the time. I'm no longer working at that company. Like I said, this was like 12 years ago. But I called to say, I'm sorry, I can't come in today because I have influenza. I can't get out of bed. I have like 102-degree fever. My body is basically shaking. And I was greeted with vulgar threats, and I was berated at the fact that I couldn't come into the office on that day. And I just couldn't understand why a person couldn't understand my feelings on that one particular day. And it wasn't that I had a habit of calling in sick or anything. It was just that there was a situation that I had a really bad flu. But this person just could not accept the fact that I wouldn't go in with a 102-degree fever to go to work. And it just got to the point where I had to hang up the phone on this person. Then 2 days later, I came in and I was pretty upset. And I asked to see that particular person outside. I wanted to tell him my feelings about how I was treated on the phone. And I said to this particular person, look, you know, in America, especially, people tend to care a little bit more about a person's well-being and their situation, and can have more of an understanding in this type of situation. And you know, I was given the response, "Oh, well, the cultures are different." In Japanese, he said, "Bunka ga chigau." And I could just understand from him saying that he had no understanding of my culture, and he only cared about his position in the company, and only his thoughts were about the company, and he didn't care as long as a body was in the job on that particular day. So that was my major culture clash moment, I guess. And of course, like I said, I don't work for that company now, and I haven't seen that particular person in over 12 years. The next question comes from another one of my co-hosts. His name is Burlyman Gaming, and he is a live streamer as well. And he's been a co-host and contributor on the Arena multi-platform gaming news podcast, and he does extra take episodes for us here on the Arena Productions. And his question to me about Japan is, did you have to change the activities you normally did when you were in the United States to stuff while you're in Japan? That's a good question, Burley. Uh, yes, in a sense, because of the weather in Japan, especially. Uh, Now it is June here in Japan, and the weather tends to get rainy in the afternoon. Whereas when I was living home in San Francisco in California, I could go out in the middle of the afternoon and the fog would be coming back into the city, and I could sit down at an outdoor table at a coffee shop or cafe and have a nice, you know, nice cup of latte. Whereas it's pretty impossible to do here in Japan, especially when around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it almost feels like a monsoon coming for about an hour or two. So when it comes to my morning walks, those are pretty much the same. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to regular activities, it all depends a lot on the weather, and especially in the summer season. From the fall and into the winter season, it's quite nice where I live here. I live about 40 minutes by bullet train from Tokyo, so yeah, it's nice, but the summer season is quite different. So in that sense, yeah, you have to change the type of activities that you do, particularly later in the afternoon. So you're usually doing something inside rather than outside. So thank you for those questions. And like I said, any of you listening, throw me a question about Japan or anything that we discuss or anything pertaining to gaming or entertainment and pop culture, and I might read it during one of our episodes. Next up, let's talk about gaming fatigue. Fatigue, of course, means being tired of, doing a particular thing. And when it comes to gaming, some people just get tired of playing games. And I've been in that situation a couple of times in my life, um, where you put down the controller and you just don't want to do it. Life is short. There are other things to do. And the first time in my life I felt like that when it came to gaming fatigue, I was a big gamer in elementary school. I loved playing with the Atari 2600. I played all the time. I played every single day. I played hours and hours. I loved Space Invaders. I was trying to break the world record for the score in Space Invaders. Um, but I was also very good at playing basketball. And some of my friends were gamers, but those friends that were gamers, they were not my basketball teammates. And there was a lot of peer pressure on me to play more basketball than play video games. And so I got gaming fatigue in a sense that I got tired of playing video games and I just wanted to play basketball. Uh, because yes, I was getting the peer pressure, but then I I wanted to improve my game when it came to basketball. The second time in my life I got gaming fatigue was after getting married. My wife is not a gamer. I respect her greatly for the fact that she doesn't mind if I play video games, especially now. And because our kids are grown up, both of my children are in college. But in the time that I was dating her and after we got married, I got tired of playing video games because I got to a point where it's like, which is more important, a video game or my wife? And obviously, video games were not as important. And as we got married and as we had children, uh, that was the major priority, obviously. And I didn't really start taking up video games again until my kids were like in at least in late kindergarten, almost in elementary school. At that time, the Nintendo Wii was very popular, and so we started playing Wii games together. And that's when I started focusing on video games again. So, I mean, there are times in life when there is gaming fatigue, and I'd really like to hear from you in the comments as to when was there a time in your life that you felt gaming fatigue, and you know what were the reasons behind it? So I'd really like to know. Okay, next up, let's talk about content creation. As you know, I'm a content creator. I love creating content, and it goes back to my days working in radio. I worked at a radio station. I was an intern at 106.1 KMEL back in the early 1990s. Let's see, I go way back, and I really loved that. It was fun. I loved working in radio and trying that out at the time. And after doing that, there was a long gap between the time I started thinking about getting into doing podcasting, stuff like that. Um, but I started doing it, and I created, of course, the Arena Productions, and I've created the Arena Multi-Platform Gaming News podcast, as well as the other shows on the YouTube channel and on our Patreon. And it's really fun to do, but I have to admit, it is a grind. It is a grind. There are times when I think, Why am I doing this?" Like, some videos will do very well, some videos will do very poorly, but I love to do it because I love making videos. I love doing podcasting as if I were still doing radio. And my advice to anyone that wants to try to do this is just understand that there are millions of people doing it. There is a ton of competition out there, but do not let that discourage you. I also did Twitch, and I still do Twitch. I mean, our podcast is, multi-stream to the Twitch channel, my Twitch channel, and the Arena Productions Twitch channel. I used to do gaming. I mean, I still once in a great while will live stream a game on Twitch, but because of all the other time I have, my day job, my life, and of course making the YouTube content, it's hard to be able to do that. But once in a while, I still will. But if you're thinking about doing this, just remember there are millions of people doing it, but don't let that discourage you. Do it because you like to do it. I make Star Wars content because I love Star Wars. I make Marvel content because I love Marvel. I make fantasy content like House of the Dragon or The Witcher because I love those series. Do it because you love it, and do it because you want to be informative and make the content for your audience. And that's why I do it. It's hard, and posting to social media and all of that. I mean, myself here on the Arena Productions, like I said, I'm the host and founder, and I do 95+% of the work on all of the content here. My contributors, they're great, and they help out. Burley, he makes some of the extra take content, and he's on some of the shows with me. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, it's a grind, like I said. But if you love it, keep on doing it. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Expat Files. And like I said, this will go into early access for the first 2 days in audio and, of course, on our YouTube channel and on our Patreon. And so if you're thinking of joining us over on Patreon, patreon.com/The Arena Productions, as well as on our YouTube channel, The Arena Productions, if you're thinking of becoming a channel member over there. So please, consider that and help us with the content creation. All of your support helps us to make better content. So anyway, I want to thank all of you, and we'll hope to catch you in the next episode of the Expat Files. So until next time, have a great week, everyone. Peace out.